And I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. And I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. Oh, baby, all I want for Christmas is you.
No, bro,
Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom.
she's like, you know,
Yeah, she got that range, man. Dude, that is a classic banger that I will listen to year over year over year over year.
yeah, I used to have this crush on this girl in sixth grade, and we were going to separate high schools. And whenever I think about Mariah Carey, I used to love that song "We Belong Together."
Yeah.
And then that was a song I dedicated to her, and like it was like tearing up that summer, and I was just like, oh man, when you left, I lost a part of me. It's still so hard
To believe.
Yo, sad boy summers have been a thing for way too many summers, way too many summers.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought when you first started going off with the bit about the crush, I was like, yo, you got a crush on Mariah Carey growing up too? Because I did.
You did?
Yeah.
No, when I was born here, and then after 3 months went back to China, then came back. I remember when I landed in China, there were like two things. I was like, wow, we got fucking chicken nuggets. These things are popping. And Britney Spears was on the screen. I'm like, wow, she's so hot. Like, so childhood, like when I was younger, Britney Spears and Cameron Diaz. I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then everyone in high school, everyone was Jessica Alba.
Yes. What's that? She had that like swimming movie, right? I think it was like Deep Blue or something like that. Let me see. Jessica Alba, Deep Blue. Yeah, Deep Blue, 2005. I remember, yeah, like when I saw her in that, I was like, yo, in 2005, shit, what was that, like fourth grade, fifth grade? Hey, you see that?
No, I didn't. Good Luck Chuck was the one. You remember
Good Luck
that
Chuck
one?
was the one for you? Yeah.
Good Luck Chuck, and then there was I forgot might have been another one, but Good Luck Chuck was one of them where I'm like, wow, she's gorgeous.
I don't think I ever seen. Let me see. Good Luck Chuck.
It's basically like every single guy that
Oh, rom-com. Okay.
every single girl that the guy sleeps with ends up getting married, and he ends up really liking her, and he's just like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and it was a solid movie, pretty solid movie.
Dude, you know what's the cool thing about like failed dating relationships in the past?
What?
They ultimately help you become a better person at dating, and those lessons ultimately help you capture the woman of your dreams.
Oh, Peter, 10 out of 10. That was a 10 out of 10.
Which leads me to talking about L's of the year and how these will ultimately bring us up to become a better person, better business owner, so that we can, I don't know, do we have like a ultimate I'm trying to think what's like a good parallel for like, because like me and you are both married now, but like an ultimate end destination, I guess, for business.
End destination for business?
Yeah. Or I think I'm just thinking like how these L's will help us become, because ultimately, right, like these dating relationships help us bring into, you know, Christy and for me, Catherine. But I don't know.
Bro, I always tell Christy, I'm like, if you would have met me in college, like
Right.
we would not be together. Straight up. Like,
Dude, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, man, like you not only need to meet the right person from a personality standpoint, but also at the right time too. The same thing is just like, man, if we had met earlier, I probably like just wouldn't be in the right headspace. And like from a personality standpoint, man, it's like, yeah, we were degenerates, bro.
bro, I was a degenerate definitely in high school. I think you were probably bigger degenerate in college. Like, you know.
High school was pretty well behaved, I feel like.
Yeah, high school I was reckless. But then you went to Rutgers, and we had mutual friends, so I know the vibes in Rutgers.
Yeah.
Rutgers is crazy. But man, biggest L's initially, man. Starting out the year, we lost 2 full-time employees, full-time PTs, and it's always tough. If you know me, like I'm just someone that wears my heart on my sleeve. Like it's so hard for me to not show emotions, and I'm like incredibly vulnerable. So like a lot of the times, like if you're someone that joins my team, it's like I don't think of you like an employee. Like I think of you as someone that like I'm literally gonna like look after. So I try to support people clinically, personally, and then I also obviously just bring the vibes and try to have a good time. And a lot of my growth this year has been essentially like me not being afraid to be abandoned and still offering those things without like being so attached, right? So it's kind of like if we go back to like relationships, imagine if someone was doing things for you because they didn't want you to abandon them. It would feel so like icky, right? And now from a leadership perspective, it's the same thing. You want to be able to offer things, develop people, and not make it feel like you need, like you can't leave. Because when you hold on too tightly, there's a certain type of energy that you bring to the table. So one of the biggest L's for me personally, it's like, I think throughout my life, I've invested so much energy into relationships and I've taken it personally when something happens with those relationships. So looking at that L, a lot of things have changed afterwards, changed the hiring processes. We added you have to do a mock. Not only do you do the interview process that we have, which is interview one, we looked at 70 resumes. One interview,
Yeah, bro, 70?
yeah, we had a lot of resumes come through.
Dude, good for you. Also, too, I just want to speak a little bit about that. Like, dude, 70 interviews you look through, which basically like gives
I
you a
didn't
lot of
interview 70.
volume.
I just looked at.
Oh, look through, yeah, but still 70 resumes to like look through and kind of filter through. That's just a lot of volume of repetitions that you get of just seeing, hey, like what's good quality out there. I think a lot of people, like, just because a lot of people are kind of talking about hiring right now in our group, they go through maybe like two or three and they kind of like just pick like the first one they look at instead of just getting the amount of volume of like people in. So good on you for that, man.
Yeah, 70 resumes, 6 interviews, 2 hires. So we look at resumes first, and I'm mainly looking for like collegiate sports, like a collegiate sports background, some sort of service industry background, and I'm looking to see that you've been at a job longer than a year. Like I could totally see someone go from one job, one job, one job, because if good opportunities come in, like if you're with someone for a year and you dedicate your time, like I'd rather have a killer for a year than someone that's whack for 3 years. So I totally understand. I do the interview. They come in the shadow. I do the interview. Then they talk to Christy. They come into shadow, and then they come back in again, and then they do a mock treatment session. And that's kind of the flow that we've been adding. And the thing that we changed was more volume, right, of resumes, like putting it out there. Because before it was directly from the mentorship. Now I'm like, okay, I don't mind hiring outside the mentorship because we have such a good way of onboarding you clinically. And then the mock treatment session is a game changer because you're looking at someone's body language. Like you could coach up body language, but the only person that's going to take up, like me and you could coach each other up on body language because we care about every little ROI, right? Like certain people are not going to want to get coached up on body language. So it's like, there's certain things where I'm like, like that's just a red flag. And then, but the main thing I'm just looking to see is like how someone's demeanor and things like that, some general rationale with clinically, and then like the flow of stuff, and then like all the other things we can clean up. And then I just want to see how well they can take feedback. So that's been like something for us where like, holy cow, losing 2 full-time PTs at the start of the year was fucking rough. And if you would have told me this is where we're at in December, I would have told you there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. And I don't want to talk about what the W is, but there's no fucking way that I would thought we'd be where we're at right now.
Save it for next week. Save it for next week. Sneak peek for next week, guys. Hell yeah, dude. Way to rebound from that. Let me ask you this, man. Because of kind of what happened, do you have like open conversations with your PTs, like in terms of what their future is like at the company? Meaning like, hey, I don't expect you to stay here forever, and that's okay. Like, I just wanted to develop you the best that I can in the time that we have together. Or are you kind of like having conversations like, hey, like, what's it going to take to kind of like have you stay here forever? Or like what does that kind of look like, especially since you had like 2 that ended up leaving last year?
Yeah, big shout out to Dan Martell. I think some of the leadership things that I've learned in the past year from Dan Martell, and I think 2025, I still felt like I was working in the business. 2026, a huge emphasis will be on the business, like taking a step back. decreasing some of the profitability to pay people more. I just realized it's like a lot of these things are things that you kind of trap yourself in, right? Or like you create these kind of problems yourselves. But one of the things that Dan says, it's like everyone's got to have a goal, right? So if Peter was joining the team, like, hey, Peter, like, what's your goal? What do you want to be able to accomplish with our team in like the next year? And like, where do you see yourself in a couple of years from now? Like, because obviously I don't want it to look like Groundhog's Day where every next 20, 30 years looks the same. Unless you want that, then, I'm all game. It's easier for me. But for the people that I've met, it's like they want to be challenged. They want to grow into bigger roles. And there are certain people that can't answer that for you. And you say it's completely okay, right? Like this might be the first time that this was presented to you. So I want you to just think about it over the week and like come back to me with something. And the goal is to have someone give you an idea of where they want to go so that you can start to build a roadmap, or you can say like, hey, I'm asking you to do this, but I'm letting you know that when we're doing this, it's helping you to get to X, Y, Z. I'm pointing every action and where I challenge them and push them to go back to that. So Emilio is going to be taking on, he's already onboarding and this is the hardest thing to give up, onboarded clinically. So Emilio is onboarding our next PT clinically. And that's something that he said he wanted to do before in the past. And he was like very sure of it. He's more introverted than extroverted. So I knew at some point he would not be able to see, 30 sessions a week and like be sustainable. So it's like we're decreasing that. He's going to be more of the clinical person instead of myself. And that's kind of how it goes. It's like you need people that know where they want to go. And I think that's a non-negotiable because there's a lot of people that go say, I don't know. I just don't know. And when that's their only response, I don't think you're getting someone that's a high performer. Because if you think about people that get after it, they've always had a goal in their mind. One of my mentors, he was like the fucking Wolf of Wall Street. And I had him on my podcast a while back. And I was like, hey, you've been a high level lacrosse player. You've coached lacrosse. You've been on some of the highest performing teams on Wall Street, etc. What is something that high performers do? And he's like, across everything, the only commonality I can say is that these people that perform at a high level set goals and they create steps to achieve them. And it's as simple as that. So if you are onboarding someone, like they can't give you a goal, anything, right? And it could be simple, right? It's like first year, my first years, I want to sustain 30 patients in a week. Yeah. Like I want to be able to self-sustain it. I want to have some word of mouth referrals, etc. And then I want to be able to teach other people afterwards. Like it doesn't have to be super like specific. But how do you feel with like?
No, I 100% agree. And also too, I think it's also part of just like the culture that you build at the clinic or at your company, right? Because if somebody comes in and everyone else around them is like setting goals like, hey, like we want to bring the company to this, or hey, everyone's setting personal goals for themselves, whether maybe it's from like a health and fitness standpoint, or maybe trying to level themselves up clinically. And then you have somebody come in and they're just like, yeah, like I don't really know if I have anything. And it's just like, it's a completely like offset of like the culture and the speed of which other people are going. And there probably are companies where maybe it's a little more laid back and lax, where people are just like kind of, they're just there to kind of coast and chill. And that's totally fine. Like they would be a fantastic player for that team. But for like the type of team and the culture that you're building, right? Like we're trying to win championships here, and people who win championships, they're not complacent, right? We're consistently setting goals, whether it's both like from a business standpoint or from a personal standpoint. So yeah, I think it just stems from a lot of the culture. So yeah, I think because of the standard that you set, I think people, when they come in and they have these like sit down interviews with you, and even just like by the little interactions that they have with maybe like your staff, like they can kind of sense that, and they'll feel like, hey, like, yeah, is this the right place for me? Or is this a place that I want to be a part of? Or is it like, whoa, like this is almost like too much. The pressure's too high. I don't know if I can keep up with this. I'm going to burn out. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. One of the biggest bottlenecks that no one talks about for small businesses is the fact that like you can't scale quick enough, right, to create more opportunities. So like you need people that are savages so that you can scale quick enough to create those opportunities. Yeah. And it's the first time where like we're actually promoting someone to a higher role, opposed to like, before it was like every 2 years we would it was almost like a revolving door. Someone would stay with us for like a year and a half to 2 years, but we weren't growing quick enough to create that next role.
Love it, man. Are you open to sharing kind of like what that looks like from a comp standpoint for people?
That's all the stuff that we're trying to figure out right now. I'm actually I was on ChatGPT. There's this very specific. I'll say, hey ChatGPT, because I was over listening to someone talk about a very specific field that literally just talks about comp structure,
Mm.
and I'm like, I've never heard that before. Um, but I'm going to take a deep dive into. It's called Managing the Professional Service Firm by David H. Meister.
Oh, cool.
And every like agency owner has said like this is like the fucking holy bible of like making sure you don't fuck things up on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Love
the
that.
hardest part is like we're in a high cost of living like city,
Yeah.
which makes things like it's like it'd be so much easier if I was like, I don't know, like in Texas, like where it's like we're in New York, I'm like, all right,
Omaha, Nebraska.
yeah, like I am more than happy to decrease profitability for a little bit more stability and like output, and like have less profitability now so that we can grow in the future. But that's the trickiest part with like New York City. It's like we've been a part of business groups, and people are like, "Hey, you should just pay your PTs this." Like, check the Excel sheet. I'm like, our PTs would be in the fucking streets, Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think everything is just all with context. Yeah, I think comp is definitely something where like you want to be able to pay your people well, but the only way you can do that is if you actually charge high enough. And that's what I always tell people whenever we come in. It's like, hey, if you want to be able to have a team in the future, if you want to keep your A players around, like you're gonna be able to get away with like paying them a low base and like high incentive. Like people want high bases, and then also too like be comped on top of that as well too. But yeah, the way we kind of do it now is we just kind of have like a set like 3 to 4K bump every single year for these people. So that way too, it's like, hey, they know, all right, their first year, their main goal is just to be able to be really, really good from a clinical standpoint. Second year, their goal for that year is to be able to be a specialist in one or two specific like body parts or specific activity, whether it's like running, golf, etc. And then from there, that third role, now they have an opportunity to kind of step either more into like a specific leadership role or like a specific kind of sales and marketing role, etc. If that's something that they want to continue to pursue. But even if they don't decide to do that, and then they continue to just like stay within the company, like they're going to get a 3K bump every year over year. So that's kind of like what we've done in terms of just like, make sure people continue to get comp from like or increase comp from a yearly ongoing basis. Because otherwise, yeah, like every year we'll kind of have to like sit down and be like, all right, like, hey, like, they feel like they should get a raise for one specific thing. And then, they'll be like, well, how do we actually justify that? But typically, generally on speaking, they should be able to generate, was it at least, or they should be around 30% of whatever amount maximum they can generate from a revenue standpoint. And so it's like, hey, yeah, if you can, generate 400K revenue or be in charge of like 400K revenue, shit, we can pay you a shit ton.
yes.
But yeah, one of the things I guess like a little bit on comp too, it's like I had two PTs leave this year, or they put in notices their same month, which kind of sucked. What sucked even more was I was on my honeymoon over in Africa. And I was like, I don't know if you're the same way, but I'll like still check my email and check I'm on Slack and stuff even when I'm away. I like wake up, I'm like, what is this? And then it's like, it was like, I don't think it was like one day, which at least it was like 2 or 3 days apart. So at least it wasn't in the same
We were
day.
talking, I think. You were after we were on a phone call.
Yeah. And I tell you, I was like, oh, so yeah, I mean, that definitely sucked for sure. But in regards to like comp, that was one of the reasons why like one of our PTs ended up leaving. He was with us 2 years, absolute incredible clinician, but he ended up transitioning out of the industry altogether and going into medical device sales because for him, he knew like as a PT, he had a certain cap from a revenue standpoint in terms of like what he was able to generate and what we could comp for, and he understood that. And then also too, from like a business standpoint, he, had been there for 2 years. So you understood like a lot of the nitty gritty of like what it actually does take to actually not only build a business, sustain it, and then also grow. So unfortunately, yeah, he ended up transitioning out. He actually stayed beyond what his notice was. He ended up staying an additional like 5 or 6 months to make sure like there was a pretty good transition. But that definitely sucked because, he was definitely one of our better therapists, been there for 2 years. So you definitely kind of feel like a sense of attachment to that in terms of like, hey, like, the amount of time, training, investment going into them. But at the same time, like super happy for him. Like he gets to make a lot more money selling, these like 50K to 100K type devices, and make a commission from it. So yeah, that was one of our PTs who left, and then our other PT who ended up leaving. He was actually a newer hire. He had been there for about like 90-ish days or so, and then at the time, we kind of had structured it where, as a newer clinician, the first 90 days, you're mostly kind of doing it, or you're mostly just treating follow-up visits, right? So there's not a whole sales component involved with it. And we kind of let them know coming in, hey, like, sales is a pretty big part of like the cash practice setting. And kind of as we got towards kind of that 90-day mark, and as we were getting him live for evals, I think he probably just felt like a larger sense of pressure in terms of being able to kind of perform to the level of KPI that we kind of had set for across our staff. And he ended up leaving because didn't necessarily feel aligned from a sales standpoint on the initial evaluation. So unfortunately, he ended up going back into like an insurance setting. But that, to a certain extent, has also kind of shifted us to change up our sales process now. So we've kind of like shifted it a couple times this year, actually. The most current way that we currently are doing it since that occurred, which was I think in like June or July this year, we basically just have like myself, and then as well as like our clinic director and one other PT. So people who are a little bit more seasoned doing just like the closing. All right. So you have obviously the amount of conviction that you can actually sell the product, and also too like the level of comfortability when it comes to certain objection handling, like spouse, think about it, and kind of be able to ask those additional harder questions. And so the next iteration that we have, because of that, is really just, hey, like, how do we actually, because now the next bottleneck that we kind of came up with that came because of that is just like, hey, we have all these evals like waiting to come in, but because it's only a limited amount of therapists that are seeing evals, there's not enough spots on the schedule to actually get evals in. And so the next iteration we have is like, hey, in middle of January, we're bringing in like an in-person closer to handle the sales conversation at the end of the evaluations. And now we'll still be able to kind of have like all the PTs, regardless if they're new or not, see evaluations, and we can still train them up on, obviously the clinical assessment portion, and also asking and pre-screening things in the subjective part. But the entire conversation when it comes to the sales, different payment plan options, financing, that'll all go to a specific, salesperson that is not the doc. And hopefully this will kind of like alleviate this bottleneck. But yeah, I think, had these things not occurred, right, would have not had known to kind of transition and switch to this next evolution of sales. But yeah, definitely sucks, man. I think over the years now, I think we probably had like 4 to 5 people kind of transition in and out. And every time it does occur, I definitely feel like the amount of like rebounding back from feeling, like hurt, if you will, right, becomes shorter and shorter. I still remember like the first PT that left to go do like home health travel PT around the country. I was like, man, like, what the hell? Like, how could you do this to me? I was like super bummed about it. I think I was like bummed out for like shit, like, I don't know, like a month, 2 months or whatever like that. And then the next one transition out, maybe it was like, all right, now 3 weeks. And then now it's maybe closer to like a day or two. And then you kind of like get back to baseline. All right, like, hey, what's the next step moving forward? Like, what do we need to do next to, kind of get this person replaced up from there?
Yeah, the dude, some things like you just hold like for a while. And I think that's a great segue into like the next like, personal L for me was just like there's a part of me that like whenever we take it now, it's like I just fucking just move on to the next thing. I don't even like process the L. like it's almost like you get so like unemotional and detached from taking L's after you take so many that you're just like yeah,
Just part of it.
just fucking keep going. And I think honestly that takes a toll over time. I was like talking to Christy, and Christy's like, "Yo, you just like never want to like show any sort of like weakness, like ever." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't. I feel like I've shown a lot of weakness for like 25 years of my life, where like I was like super anxious, kind of depressed, like navigating all that shit, and then out of nowhere, like I just like." Once I got into PT school and graduated, I was like such a fucking high, like very like high performer-esque, right? Like when I had my first job, I'd wake up at like fucking 5 a.m. every day, and I would watch like lectures from Exos, and I would learn as much as I physically could, go into work, If I wasn't seeing patients, I would literally watch Con Ed stuff. I would come home, I would read on my commute. I just went go, 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 go. I just kept pushing everything down. And anytime something came up, I'm like, I'm just going to fucking outwork you. Like that was just my solution for everything. And I think it's a great solution. Don't get me wrong. Right? I think you should go through periods in life where you're just like, I'm going to fucking outwork people. But I think you like all the work that I'm doing with like executive coaching. The guy was saying the most counter fucking intuitive shit. He was like, you should like really feel, you should surrender. You should feel like defeated. And I was like, what the fuck kind of advice is this? I'm like, dude,
Damn.
I'm like, you coach like the best of the best in Silicon Valley. And there's just something to like actually surrendering to stuff, processing it, and then it doesn't bother you anymore. So the biggest L for me probably this year, and honestly every single year, right? But there was like a lot of like personal L's. There was some like business L's where like I was just holding slight grudges to some previous people. Like you were saying, like you held on to like it just hurt for like a month or two. It took a while to bounce back. And I think it took a while. I was able to bounce back logically, but emotionally, I was still holding resentment. And shout outs to Brian Mark. Brian Mark, he's like an online fitness coach, entrepreneur guy. Him and Dan Martell were having a little feud, but he's like holding resentment. It's like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to get hurt. And I realized I was like unable to let go of these resentments because like I just actually didn't surrender. Like I just like couldn't let myself process these things or feel these things. So now I'm like, yo, that fucking sucks. I allow myself to kind of get in, like feel that shit for a little bit. And then I move on. Whereas before my immediate defense was like, fuck feeling this shit. What's the next step? How do I overcome this? How do I overcome this? And I think over time you have a bunch of skeletons in your closet, right? You're like, oh, the skeletons, and you're like, fuck, I've just been shoving all this shit in the closet instead of actually like feeling it emotionally. So the past like couple of weeks have been like fucking transformational. I was like a Robin Williams clip I posted yesterday, 2 days ago. It's like, it's amazing how some days you can have a year in a day. And I was like, fuck, yo, like this past Sunday to go straight vulnerable, I was fucking balling. Like so much shit was being like unraveled. It was just the timing stuff as well with like my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up Monday and Chris is like, you good? I'm like, I feel fucking amazing. Like I'm fucking ready to go. Like just ready to take control. But it was like literally a day of like, I'm just like, I'm going to feel down about certain things. I'm going to like allow people to see like certain like kinks in my armor. Like I straight up messaged my friend group. And I was like, yo guys, like I was in a relationship before in the past. Fuck, we're tying this full circle. Once I was like, it was crazy because once I like was like, all right, I'm gonna surrender. I started remembering all the shit that was told to me before in the past. Like my dad would be like, yo, you're fucking useless, good for nothing when I wasn't doing well academically. I had an ex-girlfriend in the past that would always compare me to my homies and like other people that we knew because I wasn't really doing anything successfully. And I told my boys, I was like, yo, there's probably been moments in time where like I straight up unintentionally put you guys down so I could bring myself up, so I could feel more valuable. And all of this stems back to all those things. And I just realized it literally this fucking past weekend. And, we were just hashing things out and everyone's like, yo, I really fucking appreciate that. But I think going through all these things makes you realize, one, we talk about this all the time. Like you unpack all this shit, your limiting beliefs go away, your conviction and like your belief in yourself improve. But it comes with like this degree of like surrendering. And it's fucking crazy because like once I was going through it, I'm like just browsing Instagram and algorithms must be fucking strong. You see like I think Alex Ramosi said something about surrendering and Tanner Cadester said something about surrendering. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
The universe is talking to you. Dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing all that. I mean, yeah, that's some pretty deep shit, man. Catherine, she talks about this a lot, and she's a big crier, and she like loves crying, whether it's like happy crying or like
I love crying, but I barely cry.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm trying to think. I don't really remember the last time that I cried, and that's probably not a good thing, right? Because it probably means, hey, I probably need to do a better job, like be in alignment with my emotions and and that side of things. But she always describes it as like, hey, every time she has like a good cry, she just basically feels like 5 to 10 pounds lighter, right? And you just almost kind of feel like almost like floating like a feather, and you're just like, all right, cool, like I'm good now, and I can kind of like do whatever. So yeah, but the only way you can like get there is to actually you know face it and go through it, right? Instead of kind of just like continuing to kind of like avoid it, like I have it.
Dude, you're not the first thing when she's like, when you cry, you feel 5 to 10 pounds lighter. I've heard that so many times. I'm like, that's
Okay.
fucking weak as fuck. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like,
5 to 10 pounds later, that's 5 to 10 pounds less muscle you got on.
I was like, no, 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 that can't be. But no, it's crazy because like one of the first sessions I had with my coach, I was like, yeah, like I actually like crying. I just can't remember the fucking last time I cried.
Mm-hmm.
Like legit. And I was like, holy crap, I feel better. But it's one of those like it's one of those days where you're like, I will remember this. This is like a turning point. Like you just feel it viscerally, and I'm like, all right, like this is gonna be a big one. Where like I've had like probably 5 or 6 of those days this year where like crazy stream of tears, and I'm like, I could tell you exactly what the fuck was going on, where I was, what the weather was like, and like this is like a very transformative, like 31 to 32.
Yeah, shit, man. I feel like you should count those in the wins, in the wins podcast episode
I know I
next
was
week.
feeling like shit.
Yeah, but like looking back now, it's like holy shit, like this is 6 big ass transformational moments, man, to kind of level up. So
Yeah.
that's good stuff, man. Good on you. Say, man, like for me, next L would be like getting kicked out of our lease twice.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So that's some L's, brother. Like,
two, and bro, I'm telling you, like it was in the same exact month. Like when it fucking rains, it pours, dude. But the first one was our lease down in like St. Pete, Clearwater. So we were coming up. I think it was like our 3 year lease from the person we bought it from, and for whatever reason, the landlord decided to not let us renew the lease. Again, like we were perfectly fine tenants and everything in there. Everything's already built out like a gym. But yeah, they decided to not renew the lease, and this was like a month in advance. Right, so a month in advance, I'm like, holy shit! Like, hey, I'm up here in Jacksonville. I don't know shit about like the landscape from a real estate standpoint down there in St. Pete. And B, I also like don't know where I'm gonna have the time to actually like figure this out. And so very luckily we were able to kind of like shout out my guy Blaine down there, our clinic director, but he had like a buddy who was a realtor, and we were able to kind of find a place that very luckily was literally only like 2 minutes away from our old place that we got kicked out of. Now, was the space a lot smaller? Yeah, for sure. But we like didn't lose any kind of clients from like a distance standpoint. That was like one of the biggest thing that I was worried about. I was like, shit, man, like if we have to move to like a different location, are we going to lose clients and whatnot? Like, if so, it's going to be like a pretty big revenue hit. But yeah, very luckily able to kind of like pivot. And then we did a whole demo and build out all within, all within that month, man, and finding a
first tall
space.
man's baby.
Yeah. So, you just, kind of listen, it's like, shit, like, all right, if this occurs again, like we were able to figure out in a month, like shit, like we can figure it out again. And so that was also like a pretty big eye-opening thing for me. It's like, all right, like we have to buy a building or buy a space at some point to make sure like this will never occur again. So for us in our Jax location, we have about a year and a half lease left on our lease. But like, yeah, we're in a position to actually be able to buy a standalone building. So that's definitely going to be the move for our location up here, and then hopefully soon too in the next couple of years, same thing for St. Pete. Because that way, yeah, even if you like are leasing your own space, man, like you don't actually own shit. You can get kicked out at any single time, whether or not some shit happens, and so you always want to be able to be in a position where you own your shit and you have as much control as possible. So that was the first one. The second one was our fucking, I mean, it's a little bit smaller, but it's our satellite location out here in Jax Beach. It's funny enough, the place is literally like 2 blocks away from where I currently live out here at Jax Beach, but it's our satellite location over here. And we were subleasing space inside a CrossFit gym. And I known the guy for a very, very long time. But he was also subleasing out to probably about 3 or 4 other practitioners in there as well too. As a functional med doc in there, and I guess like they talked about like doing a longer term relationship where he wanted to expand within the facility. And so because of that, I think they ended up working out like a 5 or 8 year deal, something crazy like that. And so one of the stipulations as part of the deal was that he would take over one of the rooms. And with us being one of the latest tenants to take one of the rooms, we kind of got the boot. And same thing, it was kind of just like it was like 30 days notice, like, hey man, like this is occurring. I know you got like clients and stuff, but we managed to figure it out. Now, do we lose a couple clients who, lived out here and did not want to travel 30 minutes to our main location? Yeah. But is it the end of the world? Like, no. Did it suck? Yeah, 100%. But, it is what it is. And, it's all good. So I think it was just like the fact that it all occurred, same thing in like in the same month, that it just kind of like felt so heavy at the time. But yeah.
Yeah, we had I know you had like a 2 month span where I'm like, yo, bro, you need I can come down. I can do some
Yeah.
evals.
Like, I just need a hug, man.
I'm
Shit.
like, I can come down. I can start hitting evals for you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
let's don't turn off the ads yet. No, we had something similar in September. It's like 1 week notice, like one of our satellite locations, like you got a dip.
Yeah.
And we found a space within, once we've heard it, got on a bunch of calls, and we were able to secure a spot within like 48 hours, and it ended up working out really, really well. So super stoked about that. I think the cool part about that was like just being able to share that within a Slack group, because I always tell people, I'm like, we always say like, just make moves quick, like don't wait,
Yeah.
like, and people are like, how the fuck did you find a space within 48 hours? I'm like, you literally text every trainer every physical therapist see if they can connect you with someone. And we got connected with someone through Daniel McKenna, Seamus and John, fucking dope people. And they're really high level business owners themselves. They're part of a mastermind. So like we chopped it up, and yeah, everything was super smooth. The other thing I was going to mention is like, we've actually thought about like, in New York, your rent can easily be 10, 15, 20K a month.
Yeah.
So it's like, what does that look like to buy like a commercial like unit? It is insane. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. But one of the things that we've done is like, we just built like a really great relationship. So like the landlord in our building, the guy's owns a CrossFit gym.
Oh, love it.
He's a partner of a CrossFit gym. We've talked so many times about lifting. He's like, how are you guys different? He's seen our space and he can see our reflection. He goes, I love the work that you're doing in there. So like, we've got a good relationship with him, and I would love to grow, because they own multiple buildings in New York City. But yeah, man, that is one thing I've thought about before, because I was like, at some point paying 10, 15, 20 and having that just disappear, right? You can easily be putting it towards like a lease, because if you have an 8-year lease, 12 times 8, and you're paying 20K, by the end of it all, you're paying 1.9 million.
Fuck. Holy shit. So what is it like? How much is it on average? Say like it's like a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot facility. How much is it in like Manhattan where you are?
3 mil. Like,
3? Okay. Yeah. Damn.
depending on where you're at, like,
I have no idea, because I'm all the way down here in Florida, but yeah, I mean, that's like probably 3x. Yeah. For us, some of the spaces that we're looking at, it's about like 1.5. You can get like a pretty nice standalone spot, 3,000, 5,000 square feet.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like, damn, yeah, like 3 mil. New York, we built different, man. Shit.
Dude, yeah. I gotta look as we're chatting, just to give some numbers to people, because I'm curious myself to see.
I wouldn't
like,
be surprised if I like for like a 3,000 to 5,000 square foot facility, probably close to like 8 to 10 maybe. If kind of what you're saying is already like 3, but I mean, I just have no conception at all what it's like.
Oh yeah, in a pocket of New York where you definitely can't grow a practice, 6.9 million for 5,000 square feet.
In a place where you definitely cannot grow.
In a place where like it's kind of like the hood.
Yeah.
in a place where you could like, grow a practice, oh man, they don't even list prices.
Yeah, that's when you know you premium. Yeah. But it ain't even listed on the website.
Close to our satellite location in Soho, and it's in Chinatown.
Yeah.
7,000 square feet for 6.5 million.
Okay.
So it's like every 1,000 square feet, it's about $1 million.
Yeah, it's about $1 million. Shit. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, maybe because like the current facility you're at now is about 2,000 square feet, right? Yeah.
So it's not terrible, but man, I can't even like like there's also the added thing of like maintenance of a commercial.
Yeah.
And like in New York, it's like fucking complicated. Oof. Third L from the biz, like man, we had such a good year, so it's like hard to say from a biz perspective.
I'll go. Yeah, I've got one more. Yeah. Same thing. I guess. Yeah, another employee. So we had an SDR leave at the beginning of this year, and part of it, I would say, is probably just like same thing. My fault. I'll take complete responsibility, and ownership for that. It was just part of it is just not understanding how much bandwidth one SDR can take. And so, like towards the end of last year, like man, like we were picking up so much momentum with that. I'm just like, all right, let's crank this sucker, crank it, crank it, crank it, crank it. And then like as we were cranking it, slowly like the quality of like conversion slowly started to dip. And I thought it was like, hey, like on the SR, but I just realized like at some point they can only handle so many calls, and also like book them at the right quality of rate of that we wanted them to. But yeah, she just dipped out one day. She was there. The next day she wasn't there, and I was like, shit.
Bro, it really sounds like relationships right now.
Yeah, it's relationships, dude. And it's funny too. It was also while I was on my trip in Guatemala.
Oh man, the Guatemala trip was rough, brother, because you didn't even see the fucking view.
You didn't see the view up there. So yeah, I'm like, I was telling Raph, I'm like, man, all right, there should be like a rule where like, hey, if I'm like not in Jax, like people can't pull some shit like that. But yeah, he just messaged me. He's like, yo, dude, is SCR like not? Did something happen? Like she was here at lunch and then now she's not. Like, do you know what happened? I'm like, no, what happened? And then the next day, same thing, she wasn't there. But I think that was like a pretty big moment for me just to understand. All right, cool. Like once somebody is taking on like a certain number of calls and honestly a certain number of lead, that's about as like how many they can kind of manage effectively. And so now, like we just brought on our third SDR. And yeah, like these SDRs are great, man. Our culture is really, really good. Also too, from that, I think we were meeting once a week before. And now for our SDRs, we do a ton of training with them. We meet with them once a day, Monday to Friday. So pretty much every single day. And yeah, it's really great to kind of see like how our SDR team has been able to kind of develop and grow from there. But yeah, it's really just, when you're kind of developing a newer position like that, one of the hard things is really just not really too sure from a roles and responsibility standpoint, like what is actually realistic and what's appropriate. And sometimes, unfortunately just does take, some testing to better figure out like, where that threshold and what that boundary is kind of like.
Yeah, we one of the L's now that I kind of reflect on, it's like with our education business, it's like it's been stagnant this past year. And one of the things that it's kind of funny, right? Because it kind of ties to business is most of our education business that we've scaled to multiple six figures is straight up word of mouth, right? Straight up word of mouth and organic through social media. Like there's no ads, no nothing on like that side of things. So our big L has just essentially been like, it's been steady. And we actually took a little bit of a dip this year. And my goal is to now just like kind of figure out, okay, what do we do from here, right? Like there's not a ton of people that sell like education. They don't know how to like sell an education business. A lot of it's usually geared towards like an ROI when it comes to like selling something that gives you like a very tangible ROI of like, hey, I'm going to help you make more money. Right. But when you're like, hey, I'm going to turn you into a savage clinician, I don't know what that looks like. So I signed up for, took Peter's advice. I piffed it, signed up for another mastermind group. And, that one is just specifically essentially learning the behind the scenes of somebody else scaling their online education stuff so that we can start to implement it with us. But yeah, I think relying on word of mouth, relying on organic, it's tough. Like you'll have success and you'll have like, we had cohorts where like I'm like 30 in one cohort, which is crazy. It was like an insane boost. And then we've had cohorts where like it wasn't quite as great, or like the launch took like 2 weeks. So a big emphasis for us now, it's like ever since we had a slow launch, we did a rolling launch, and then I hired a DM setter so that we can enroll people early, and that's been really great. We've been enrolling like at least 5 people per quarter early prior to a launch.
Love it.
And now it's like putting a system behind all of the ads that we're going to be launching, and they're going to be boosted posts, regular ads, creating essentially like a team around that. And we've never done a sales call for Moment Education. It's just been high ticket. People know who we are, our reputation, and they just sign up. So one of the things that we'll be starting is taking like 15-minute discovery calls. And then if they're like appropriate, we'll be booking a sales call with people. And I'm just excited. I've kind of treated like Moment Education as like a side hustle. Like it's never been something that's huge, but for us, I think it's great for revenue, but also from a go-getter's perspective, it's like we typically see people become savage providers and want to be their own business owner because they're stuck in an insurance model. So I'm excited for the emphasis on creating better systems within Moment Education, because I think it's going to bleed into go-getters, and it's just cool opportunities because like when the education side of things grow, our team gets to travel, right? We'll have people on our team that'll travel next year. We'll pay for their flights, their hotels, they'll get a stipend for meals, and then they'll get paid to teach. And I think that's a fucking dope like addition to being a staff PT.
Yeah, 100%, man. Shit, dude. Honestly, just talking about the L's right now, like I feel like, damn, it wasn't even that bad.
You're struggling, brother. You were like,
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, I mean, I guess like now we're on the other side of it, right? It's the end of the year. We just kind of reflect. I'm like, shit, man, it's
no,
just
I just remember
pretty good.
I called you one time. I think you were driving. You were finishing something up in the new location.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yo, my bad, bro. I couldn't pick up. My back is so sore from
Oh yeah.
gym flooring." And I was like, "It's all good. It's all good." But no, I think when you're in the thick of it, it sounds like really, really bad. I want to share a story because like one of the gyms that we have a satellite office in, I've known the gym owners since 2016, and one of them founded the brand ProMix. So if you guys are familiar with it, it's a supplement company. They recently exited, and they still have shares, and they work with their private equity that acquired them. But Albert, such a good dude. The guy would not get fucking phased. There was a flood that like ruined the first floor, ruined the bottom floor. There's been times where like shit in the gym just went like sideways. And he's like, it's all good. Like this guy was impenetrable. I'm like, what the fuck? He was managing the gym, managing ProMix, and managing some of his real estate stuff. Couldn't be bothered. Look, he was like perfectly fine. He's like, I've just seen so much shit that like none of this bothers me. Like this is easy. I'm like, this is easy. Your fucking gym is underwater. What the fuck are we doing?
It's all perspective. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, shit, like going through all this, like, damn, next year, whatever else will come, like, shit, hopefully it'll suck during it. But I just know, like, hey, like the amount of durability and resilience you kind of end up developing, right? These scars, right? You almost kind of talked about previously that you get from these experiences just basically make you able to tolerate more. And hopefully you never get to a point where, like Albert, right? Shit, like I would love to be at a point where, if our clinic floods, hey, it's all good. Like we'll just get someone to come in and suck it out. We'll be good to go, man. But yeah, I think like there's definitely levels to it. Like I think Hormozy recently was talking about how this year he had like 8 lawsuits against him this year, and like how they just kind of like sucked away, every bit of quote unquote free time that he had, right? Like whether it's like eating or like conversing with other people. But it's just like, damn, like, yeah, like I guess when you do get to a certain extent, like the next thing that comes, like, hey, you have staff figured out, you have lead gen figured out, but it's just like other people suing you for shit because they know, hey, you're like worth a lot. They're always looking for, for kinks in the armor.
Bro, he had chronic back pain. I think he was talking about back pain or something this year, that he was suffering from back pain for an extended period of time. And I was like, damn.
It's all that stress.
All that stress. But squad, man, oh man. Let's just do a little quick March 21st to 22nd. We got a Go Getters live event. If you're interested in attending, all you have to do is look into the show notes of the podcast, fill out a form, answer some questions. We have a wait list going, and we'll start to be reaching out to people on the wait list in the beginning of the year so that they can get prepared for that event. We protect the culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone in the group is fucking dope. So like, we're just trying to make sure that we're not getting any like weirdos, you know, pulling up. Actually, no. We fucking love weirdos. Just don't be an asshole. We're not looking for any assholes.
Yeah, no asshole.
Next, and other things, we have a bunch of free resources. So just check out the show notes. And if you're like, hey, I fucking love you guys, 2025 has been shitty for my business, or it's been like, it's been like so. Book a strategy call. That's also in the show notes. And if you're part of the group, you automatically get into the live event. But again, it's not like we're interviewing one another, right? Like, we're not the right fit for everyone. So we only want go-getters. If you're looking in the mirror and you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and you're like, fucking go-getter, I always get after it. You're the one. So appreciate you guys, and W's next week, baby.
Yeah, stay tuned. Next week's going to be a fun one.
Let's get it. Peace.